What if I told you that Carl Jung discovered something so dangerous about human consciousness that it could either destroy you completely, or transform you into something extraordinary? Stay with me, because what you're about to learn will change how you see yourself forever. Carl Jung's most terrifying discovery wasn't about mental illness. It was about people who possess a rare psychological gift, the ability to see everything others miss. And according to Carl Jung, this gift systematically destroys the people who have it. But here's what will shock you even more. In 1913, during Carl Jung's own psychological breakdown after his split with Freud, a patient walked into his office who would reveal the most dangerous aspect of human consciousness ever documented. This patient could read microexpressions like a book, sense hidden emotions instantly, and perceive psychological patterns that escaped everyone else. She saw through social masks, detected lies immediately, and felt the unconscious tensions in every room she entered. But here's the terrifying part. According to Carl Jung, this extraordinary ability was slowly killing her. Stay with me, because what Carl Jung discovered about this patient will reveal whether you possess this dangerous gift, and what you must do to survive it. Carl Jung said that this dangerous perception manifests in 4 distinct ways. And if you recognize yourself in any of these types, your life is about to make perfect sense, but you're also in more danger than you realize. Type 1, the feeling intuitive. Carl Jung discovered that these individuals don't just see what's happening psychologically, they feel it in their own bodies. According to Carl Jung, the feeling intuitive lives in a state of perpetual emotional contagion, experiencing the unlived emotions of everyone in their environment. If you've ever walked into a room and immediately felt overwhelmed by emotions that weren't your own, if you absorb other people's moods so completely you can't tell where they end and you begin, you might be this type. But wait, it gets worse. Type 2, the thinking intuitive. Carl Jung said these people see psychological patterns and predict outcomes with terrifying accuracy. According to Carl Jung, they possess an uncanny ability to perceive the logical conclusions of unconscious processes that others cannot yet see. If you've ever predicted someone's divorce months before it happened, if you can see career disasters coming from miles away, if you watch people make obvious mistakes and feel powerless to stop them, you're this type. And the isolation is about to get much worse. Type 3, the sensation intuitive. Carl Jung discovered individuals who could sense the physical manifestations of psychological states in others. According to Carl Jung, these individuals serve as early warning systems for psychological and physical disease in their environment. If you can sense someone's illness before symptoms appear, if you feel physical tension that indicates emotional distress in others, if your body becomes a radar for everyone else's hidden pain, this is you. But the most dangerous type is still coming. Type 4, the pure intuitive. Carl Jung said this was the rarest and most devastating type. According to Carl Jung, they live in a state of perpetual overwhelm, receiving vast amounts of unconscious information without adequate psychological structure to process it constructively. If you see everything but can't organize it, if you're flooded with insights you can't express, if you feel like you're drowning in information about everyone around you, you're in the most dangerous category. But here's what Carl Jung discovered that will save your life. Carl Jung identified 3 specific ways this gift destroys people. And if you don't understand these dangers, they will consume you completely. Danger 1, collective unconscious disruption. Carl Jung discovered that the individual who perceives too clearly threatens the collective agreements upon which social cohesion depends. According to Carl Jung, when you see through the shared illusions that hold groups together, you become a destabilizing force. You violate unspoken agreements simply by existing authentically. And society will make you pay for it. Danger 2, psychological isolation. Carl Jung said this creates the problem of the superior function, when your greatest strength becomes your greatest suffering. According to Carl Jung, the curse of consciousness is that it cannot be shared with those who do not possess it. You become an island of awareness in an ocean of unconsciousness. And the isolation isn't just social, it's existential. But the third danger is what actually kills people. Danger 3, identity dissolution. Here's what Carl Jung discovered that will terrify you. People who absorb unconscious contents from others often lose contact with their own personality completely. Carl Jung called this participation mystique, when psychological boundaries dissolve and you become merged with collective unconscious contents. According to Carl Jung, the danger is not merely social exile, but psychological annihilation. You literally disappear as an individual. But stay with me, because Carl Jung discovered the antidote. Here's what will save you. Carl Jung developed a specific process for transforming this dangerous gift into your greatest strength. But you need to understand why most people with this ability never make it through. Carl Jung discovered that this gift either destroys you or transforms you into what he called a consciousness pioneer. There's no middle ground. Phase 1. Recognition and differentiation. Carl Jung said the first step is learning to distinguish between your authentic inner experience and what you're absorbing from others. According to Carl Jung, the first task is to establish what belongs to you and what belongs to others. Here's Carl Jung's technique: spend time in complete solitude daily, allowing absorbed material to settle so you can recognize your own authentic psychological voice. But this is just the beginning. Phase 2, Shadow Integration. Here's what Carl Jung discovered that changes everything. People who see others' shadows clearly often do so because they haven't integrated their own. Carl Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. According to Carl Jung, the more you deny your own capacity for deception or cruelty, the more disturbed you'll be by seeing these qualities in others. This is the phase that breaks most people. Phase 3, Conscious Participation. Carl Jung called this the ultimate transformation. The individuated person can serve as a bridge between conscious and unconscious, helping to make the unconscious conscious in others without sacrificing their own psychological integrity. But here's the secret Carl Jung discovered. Carl Jung studied two historical figures to understand the difference between success and failure with this gift. One went insane. The other became a spiritual master. Carl Jung said that Nietzsche possessed extraordinary insight into human nature, but he remained identified with his superior function rather than integrating it. According to Carl Jung, Nietzsche's isolation and breakdown represented what happens when superior perception remains unintegrated. He became consumed by what he saw rather than transformed by it. Carl Jung discovered that Eckhart successfully integrated his mystical perception. According to Carl Jung, Eckhart transformed his superior perception into wisdom that could nourish others without overwhelming them. The difference? Carl Jung said Eckhart developed conscious humility, recognizing that superior perception is a gift to be shared wisely, not a weapon to be wielded. But here's what Carl Jung learned from his own near-destruction. From 1913 to 1919, Carl Jung nearly lost his sanity to overwhelming perception. Carl Jung said, "I was menaced by a psychosis and was saved only by my ability to understand what was happening to me." According to Carl Jung, his breakthrough came when he realized his overwhelming perceptions weren't pathological, they were evolutionary. They represented consciousness attempting to evolve beyond current limitations. This realization transformed his approach forever. But here's the crucial discovery that will save your life. Carl Jung discovered that people with superior perception must find what he called the few who understand. According to Carl Jung, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But this privilege cannot be realized in isolation. Carl Jung identified three essential relationship types. 1. Fellow individuated persons. Carl Jung said, the individuated person recognizes another individuated person immediately. 2. Those engaged in individuation. According to Carl Jung, people actively doing inner work can bear to be known by others. 3. Natural containers. Carl Jung discovered individuals who can hold psychological content without being overwhelmed by it. But here's how to recognize them. Carl Jung developed specific indicators for safe relationships. They ask genuine questions rather than defending. They acknowledge their contradictions without shame. They demonstrate psychological mindedness. They maintain emotional stability with uncomfortable truths. They show genuine curiosity about consciousness. Carl Jung emphasized, the goal is not to find people who accept everything you see, but people who can engage with your perceptions as valuable contributions. But the ultimate transformation is still coming. Stage 1, recognition without overwhelm. Carl Jung called this, conscious acceptance of the superior function. According to Carl Jung, the beginning of wisdom is the recognition of what one actually is. Stage 2, integration without isolation. Carl Jung called this, social individuation, becoming authentically yourself while remaining connected. According to Carl Jung, the individuated person does not withdraw from the world but engages with it more consciously. Stage 3, service without sacrifice. Carl Jung said this happens when perception becomes a gift you offer rather than a burden you carry. According to Carl Jung, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are and then to offer that authentic self in service of the whole. Stage 4, legacy without attachment. Carl Jung called this, transcendent function, using your perception for collective consciousness evolution. According to Carl Jung, the individuated person works for the future, not for personal recognition. But there are deadly pitfalls that destroy most people. Pitfall 1, the inflation trap. Carl Jung warned about psychological inflation when you become identified with your gift. According to Carl Jung, the moment one believes oneself to be the bearer of absolute truth, one has fallen into unconscious possession. Pitfall 2, the withdrawal justification. Carl Jung said some use their perception to justify complete social withdrawal. According to Carl Jung, true individuation requires engagement with the unconscious world, not escape from it. Pitfall 3, the helper's addiction. Carl Jung observed people who become addicted to being needed. According to Carl Jung, when perception becomes identity, the person disappears behind the function. Pitfall 4, the overwhelm return. Carl Jung emphasized, integration is not a permanent achievement, but a dynamic process requiring constant conscious attention. But here's the ultimate truth Carl Jung discovered. Carl Jung said in The Undiscovered Self, the individual has always been the carrier of the living spirit, the one who brings about change in society. According to Carl Jung, people with superior perception serve as consciousness pioneers, individuals whose psychological development precedes collective readiness. Carl Jung discovered, what appears in the individual first as psychological insight later manifests in the collective as cultural transformation. You're not broken. You're psychologically ahead of your time. Remember Carl Jung's patient from 1913? After 3 years of individuation work, her life transformed completely. According to Carl Jung, the patient learned not to see less, but to see more wisely, not to perceive less deeply, but to engage more consciously with what she perceived. She found work as a counselor where her perception helped others. She built relationships with people who valued her insights. Most importantly, she stopped experiencing her gift as a curse. Carl Jung wrote, her gift remained intact, but her relationship to it became integrated rather than overwhelming. Here's Carl Jung's most dangerous discovery: some individuals are born with consciousness that exceeds collective readiness. This advanced perception will either destroy them through isolation and overwhelm, or transform them into exactly what humanity needs for psychological evolution. Carl Jung said your superior perception isn't a malfunction, it's an advanced feature of consciousness development. You're not broken because you see everything others miss. According to Carl Jung, you're psychologically ahead of your time. The question isn't whether you should suppress your perception to fit in. The question is whether you'll develop the individuation skills necessary to integrate your perception consciously. Carl Jung's method offers a path from dangerous isolation to conscious service. From overwhelming perception to integrated wisdom. From psychological curse to evolutionary contribution. Carl Jung discovered, you were born to see everything, not to suffer in silence, but to serve consciousness evolution. The world needs your insights. But according to Carl Jung, it needs them delivered with integration, wisdom, and strategic awareness that transform dangerous perception into cultural medicine. Carl Jung said, your gift is not your burden. Your unconscious relationship to your gift is your burden. Learn to integrate it consciously, and according to Carl Jung, you become exactly what highly perceptive individuals were meant to be, consciousness pioneers preparing humanity for inevitable psychological development. Carl Jung's most dangerous discovery wasn't that some people see everything. It's that most people who see everything never learn to use what they see wisely. According to Carl Jung, the danger isn't in the perception itself, but in failing to develop conscious relationship with extraordinary abilities. You are not too much for this world. According to Carl Jung, you are exactly what consciousness evolution requires, once you learn to wield your perception as consciously as he learned to wield his. Carl Jung said, the danger of seeing everything isn't that you see too much. It's that you might never learn to see with the integration and wisdom your gifts demand. If you recognize yourself in Carl Jung's description of the highly perceptive individual, you're part of a rare psychological type that Carl Jung believed essential for consciousness evolution. Which type of differentiated perceiver are you? Your individuation journey connects with others walking the same path. The question Carl Jung would ask you is this: will you let your dangerous gift destroy you, or will you transform it into the evolutionary contribution humanity desperately needs? The choice, according to Carl Jung, will determine not just your fate, but the fate of consciousness itself. Thank you so much for staying with me through this exploration. If you found value in today's discussion, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who might benefit from it.